Hello and welcome to the Azure Innovation Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Kennedy. Thank you for joining us in the podcast series that covers cloud-first companies, technology leaders, influencers such as venture capitalists, and all things innovation. Microsoft Ignite concluded last month. I hope you tuned in to learn about all the exciting announcements and opportunities it provided. If you'd like to catch up, we still have session recordings available on the Ignite website. One of those amazing startups that we got to feature at Ignite was AltaML. And with me today is Celia Wanderley, CTO of AltaML, who will give us a deep dive on how they're using generative AI to solve some incredibly important problems for the government of Alberta. Welcome, Celia.
Thanks, Ross, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, listen, I'm incredibly excited, both because it's a fast-growing startup, but also because it's from my hometown of Canada. But for those that are unfamiliar, maybe you can give us a quick overview. What does AltaML do, and what is its mission?
Fantastic, yes. So our purpose is to elevate human potential using applied AI. AltaML is a 5-year-old company, and we primarily build applied AI solutions. So by that, what we mean is that we build software solutions that are powered with a core that is machine learning based for the most part. And so we do work with universities and with academia in partnerships, but primarily we're working with some commercial partners like Microsoft to use their platforms to build solutions for our clients.
That's incredible. I love that mission statement. Now, I know you've built an AI tool for Alberta Wildfire powered by Azure Machine Learning. Can you tell us about that solution?
Absolutely. So one of the interesting things about the wildfire management branch in Alberta is that they have been collecting data for about 30 years. And as you can probably imagine, fire management is a complicated science on itself, right? And with a problem that has been really escalating. I think the 2023 was the year with the most fires, an unprecedented fire year for Canada, but all over the globe, really. In Canada alone, if it's estimated that about 17 million hectares were burnt with fire. As it's almost like just a very good match. There's 30 years of data, a problem that is becoming more and more complex, and the ability to now have the additional data that comes from, let's say, global CO2 measures, the ability to do better weather, forecasting and prediction, but all of that with greater data, the amount of complexity that the duty officers who are responsible on a daily basis to plan resource management, to plan what we call fire pre-suppression resources, becomes more and more complex. The idea behind the solution was then, why not use technology, like in this case, particularly machine learning, to be able to make sense of all of this data and train machine learning-based models to be a decision-making, like assisting tool for the duty officers in their decision about planning pre-suppression resources.
Incredible. And you're right. I do remember those devastating fires from Canada. I was in New York at the time, and I remember air quality was just incredible. I guess what were the biggest challenges you were hoping to solve for Alberta Wildfire?
One of the biggest, there's one, of course, is placement, optimized placement of resources means that, of course, the severity of fires could be controlled, right? Because like you would imagine that if you have the best resources like helicopters, bulldozers, planes, and the human resources as well, if you have those in the best locations where fire is more likely to occur, you would get a better chance of combating it, earlier. But the other factor as well is, of course, resource optimization of the financial resources that are utilized. When you plan to use resources outside, when you do use resources that are outside of the window that you would have planned, you are generally paying like overtime for those resources. in an unprecedented season where I think if you would have seen in the news, we had thank goodness we had help from all over the globe, like Australia and other places who would send their human resources. It becomes more and more costly. So anything that you can optimize in terms of the maybe those heavy assets and how much you spend on those means that there's more resources to be actually used to combat fire.
Oh, I love that. So it's making sure the right resources are the right place at the right time, using all of these different data points predictively. For other technical founders, I wonder, how did you go through that decision process of deciding which platform and which technologies to use, especially around the AI side of the house? What were the criteria? Who was involved in those decisions?
One thing that is really important for us is anytime we do quite a bit of work in what we call the feasibility stage to understand, do we have enough data? Do we have stakeholders that are really willing, on the change management side, that are willing to adopt the solution if it is successful? Check on all of those points that really give us great indication that something will be successful. But another very important factor is to think about scalability. So you don't want to just be, let's say, playing. You need to be doing the work from the start in a platform, in an environment that will allow you to transition from the multiple environments, from a development to a user acceptance testing to a production environment, and be able to scale its usage accordingly. So I think that was, of course, like a very important factor in the choice of the Azure, AI and ML platform. The other one is the familiarity of your client, right, with that partner. So needless to say, I think the government of Alberta has a long history of working with Microsoft, which allowed us to really work on this three-way partnership ourselves, the team, the Microsoft team in the account and the government to almost start to use this project not just for the sake of this particular solution, but to ramp up the familiarity with these types of environments in such a way that then they become more and more used, and that new solutions can be deployed in a faster manner as that familiarity increases.
Okay, so familiarity to the technology and to its application is incredibly important. Now, I'm particularly biased, of course, on why you would choose Azure, but I'd love to understand, why was Azure your choice for building the wildfire prevention solution?
As I mentioned, I think the clients are already used to Microsoft as a partner, so that was there. All the our team has historically been, most of our team has gone through training, has been certified in various various elements and various of the technologies within the platform. So it made a lot of sense for us as well. It provides us one of the reasons why we use it so often, not just in this solution but in many others, is the fact that you can really count on the end-to-end platform, all the way from let's say the compute instances that you may want to utilize to the platforms, but also the end visualization tool. So in this case, the government has been quite used to having Power BI as their data visualization platform. So we can really have that end-to-end user experience that allows not just the development team to progress through to find all of the components that we would need to transition all the way from experimentation to a pipeline and a solution being in production, but also to introduce something that where there's more familiarity to the end users.
So familiarity in that end-to-end stack, that fully integrated story, that's incredible. For the technically inclined in our audience, and Celia, I am not one of those, I wonder if you could briefly describe the technology underpinning this solution.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we do, what happens is there's extracts that come from what the government calls the fires database or the fire solution. And that will come, and there's extracts that happen on a regular basis, goes into like a blob storage. There's other types of let's say, both observational weather data, but also forecast data, not just forecast and forecast data that is specific to the region, which is really important. Having to have that, those who understand a lot of elements that come from, let's say, what day of the week, what week, is it a holiday, right? What is the human activity that's more likely to be happening in a region, which can also, it's not just the weather factors, but it's also, and maybe the soil, the moisture, like a number of those factors. So all of that data will come in, and we'll then run it through our pipeline to be able to run, the prediction. That prediction is then loaded into, a Cosmos DB database, and then invoked into in the Power BI and visualization, which will give. It's a map-based type of visualization, and we went through quite a number of iterations too. You can only imagine that's being a duty officer and having to plan that on a daily basis. That's quite a lot of pressure. So you don't want to have a solution that people are opening multiple, tabs and having to figure out what it means. So there was a lot of work involved in working with them to, on a quick glance, understand color code, map, and specific, let's say, the language that is used in the jargon, for lack of a better word, that is used in the field to make sure that they can indeed have this as that decision-making tool.
Oh, that's incredibly powerful. So obviously human traffic behaviors and patterns, things like holidays were included and considered as part of it, making sure that you're not having multiple tabs and multiple tools, giving a central place for those duty officers and managers. What results have you seen so far?
We have one of the, with tying back to my comment at the beginning that this has been an unprecedented year. I think one of the things that you hear be talked quite a bit is that we used to have a fire season. Let's say it's April to November, and there's a lot of worry that now it's going to be fire season all year round, right? So pre-suppression, the times that you're doing pre-suppression are bound to increase, to be longer. This year, a lot of the season was incredibly active. So when you have that active of a season, you are working on suppressing fires, not planning pre-suppression. So even though that means they could not use the pre-suppression tool for a very long time. In our estimation, this tool can save a few $1 million per year, even considering like a shorter, a fire season. And of course, as that season gets expanded, then there could be larger savings that would come from a tool like that. It was also incredibly important and continues to be incredibly important for the users to get more comfortable with the solution, right, and understand how they're actually going to use, because of the high levels of the good performance that you get. I'll avoid the term accuracy because it can mean different things to different people, but high levels of performance that you get from the tool, I will start to get quite a bit more of buy-in from the users to really incorporate that in their workflows. So I think you were quite excited that that's the case, and as you would probably imagine, that's the beauty of these types of tools, that it's expected to get better over time, right? As it learns from new data, new patterns, and as they learn how to incorporate it into their workflows and what really matters to them.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly powerful. And it's probably not just the financial savings of the governments, but it's also the millions of hectares that are, otherwise at risk for damage. And then, of course, the risk of life as well. But one of the questions I love to ask successful entrepreneurs is, if you could go back in time and give guidance to our audience and our listeners who are also maybe at the start of their AI journey, what key learnings would you share?
One that I find interesting is that sometimes maybe we overlook, but that we essentially incorporate into our prioritization matrices as some of these There's, of course, more use cases and more solutions that are needed than can be built, right, within a period of time. So there's prioritization that goes on for for the government to decide what to do first or next. And given we're talking about AI and data, of course, data is really important. So data has to be present, and of course, but I would say that the identifying that those stakeholders that really open to adoption is another very important factor, especially for those who are maybe starting their journey, right? So we're so fortunate to work with the wildfire management branch because they just, I think science is really important to them. Being able to leverage that data that was sitting somewhere and that they knew was important, but maybe a bit untapped, is can be a key to success, right? And to see and almost to inspire others in that organization. Or I think now, because we've been talking about the solution externally quite a bit, there's been inspiration not just within government of Alberta, but across the globe for anyone who hears. Like, this is a topic that's really that I think that really matters to all of us. You were saying, like, you were in New York and you were you could smell the fires, the smoke was there. So it's not very isolated to where it's actually happening. Like, the impact is much larger.
Yeah, that's incredible. So if I understood you, it's prioritization, data, and stakeholder management, and stakeholder buy-in are the really key factors of getting it right early. Well, one last question for you today is, are there other AI use cases that you're considering?
We've been working the program that we use, that we have had in place with Government of Alberta, is a private-public academia partnership called GovLab.ai. So through GovLab.ai, we have, let's say, an active list of solutions that we've been working on, some in the experiment stage, some in the pilot stage, some in production, and constantly onboarding new others to do feasibility. A couple of examples I could talk about. One is education capital planning. The idea that, again, a lot of data exists, but it's still up to the humans that are maybe tasked with that job to plan where to build a school and how big should the school be, what program should that school have. But it is really hard without having a solution, let's say a smart solution like this, that becomes that tool for decision-making assistance to understand what's going to be the impact in schools in the region, right? So it could be that you build this new school, you have this massive capital investment, and then you're going to just take the students from a student population from a particular school nearby, and that you're not optimizing that. So we've been working with the government to build a tool that looks exactly like that lets them do a bit of scenario planning and impact analysis using data that has long existed, but also additional external data that is very hard for a human to consume and in a proper fashion. That's one. There's a different one that we've been working with another municipality, and which is almost like, think about building like a street view that is like with their own fleet, and being able to record maybe defects as their fleet is going around the city, being able to be recording like damage in pavement, and use Azure, custom vision and cognitive services to be able to identify defects. So that could be used in a number of different areas, not just existing defects, but for example, as new roads are built, to do maybe like an inspection, right? So, or like when repairs are done, to do inspection and do it in a much more automated manner, and that in many ways with much more precision than the human eye would give us.
That's incredible. That's exciting stuff. Listen, thank you so much, Celia. Those are incredible insights, and I appreciate your time today. If you'd like to learn more about Azure OpenAI and related services that will help you build generative AI apps, check out our website. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.